Hey guys, welcome to the League of Extraordinary Gamers. It's me, Tricky One again. Today we're going to do a rules discussion video because there was something that was changed not too long ago that really impacts the game. And what I'm talking about is the new rules for Giant Reach and Colossals. So, what we're going to do is I'm going to change the camera angle to actually look at a map while I explain everything. But we do have little Mitzelplix as our tiny. We've got a Batmite for regular. We've got our Superman Doomsday for our giant. And we'll use Brimstone as our colossal to kind of explain how all of this works. So I will be back with you in just a moment. Okay, we're back. So when it comes to close combat, the way it works is for tinies and regular, you have to be next to them to be able to punch them, close combat. Now, with the new rules, they have changed Giant Reach to now be Giant Reach X. What that means is there's going to be new game effects that haven't come out yet that are going to give people Giant Reach for more than just 1 or 2. There'll may be a Giant Reach 4 or 6, which would be ridiculous, but it's possible. Now, for Giant Reach X, they have declared that anything that already had Giant Reach is Giant Reach 2. And the rules for Giants and Colossals now, Giants have Giant Reach 2, Colossals have Giant Reach 3. So, you see this order we have right here. I've got the tiny Mitzelplix, I've got the regular sized Batmite, I've got the giant Super Doom, and the colossal Brimstone. Okay, so Batmite could punch him because he's next to him. Because he's a giant, he could punch him because it's 2 away. And because he's a colossal, he could punch him because it's up to 3 away. You understand? So, that was just one of the changes they did, was they made Giant Reach reach more. And they gave Colossals Giant Reach, which was, in my opinion, ridiculous that they never had it to begin with. Now, the next thing I want to go over is smaller characters do not block your line of fire, period. So, what that means is, in this order, he doesn't block him, he doesn't block him, he doesn't block him for shooting. The next thing that I want to go over when it comes to the changes is the breakaway. Before, it was you break away on a 4, 5, or 6, and if you had like Giant Reach, you got pluses to your breakaway. They did away with that. And now it's just flat out modify your breakaway roll by +1 when breaking away from only smaller characters. So, if he was trying to break away from them, like if he was trying to break away, then he would get a +1. He would only need a 3, 4, 5, or 6. If he was trying to break away from him, same deal. Now, it does say that you automatically break away from characters that are at least 2 sizes smaller. So, we're going to set him aside real quick. Brimstone is a colossal. If he's next to a regular person or a tiny person, either way, he can actually break away. Without ever having to even roll, he just automatically can break away. Now, if you put a giant next to him, that's not 2 sizes difference, so he'll just get the +1, 3 through 6. Another example of that is if it's just the tiny and the giant breaking away from the tiny. Tiny's 2 sizes smaller because it goes tiny, standard, giant, colossal. So he can just automatically break away without having to roll. Okay, the next thing I want to go over about is knockback. It used to be, if you're a giant, you can't be knocked back, period. That's just how it is. Now, that did get changed. Now it just says you cannot knock back someone bigger than you. So, the tiny can't knock back the regular can't knock back the giant can't knock back the colossal. But 2 giants can knock each other back. 2 colossals can knock each other back. That's a pretty big deal. And these are all just the size general effects I'm going over right now. The next one is the carry ability. It used to be that it was an innate ability to tinies that they could hop on someone and get a free carry regardless of their movement symbol, and it didn't subtract from their movement, like how when you do normal carry granted by flight, you get a -2. Well, they've changed carry. It now just is innate to every single character. You can carry one smaller character regardless of its other combat symbols, and does not reduce your speed for doing so. And you cannot carry larger characters. That last part was obvious. I mean, if a tiny could carry a brimstone, that's just dumb. But now what that does is it opens up a lot of things. It's not the tiny that's granting the carry, it's every single character has carry. So, the regular person could carry the tiny and not subtract. The giant could carry the regular or the tiny and not -2. The colossal could carry the giant, the regular, or the tiny. Used to not be able to carry giants. So now, if you are a giant or bigger, you can carry a giant. If you have flight, you can carry them normal, or if you're colossal, you can just pick them up and it's no big deal. That changes the game quite a lot. Now, the next thing I want to go over is the great size changes. This character, what it says is great size is giants have it and colossals have it. Great size says you ignore elevation, hindering, and outdoor blocking for movement and line of fire purposes. And you can shoot through people. Like, if someone's adjacent to you, you can still do range at other people, or you could just go after them. Now, lines of fire drawn to or from this character are not blocked by elevated terrain or outdoor blocking terrain, and are not hindered unless the target occupies hindering terrain. And the most important part, if you have giant size, you can occupy multiple elevations now. You can be on elevation 3, 4, 5 if you happen to be standing in that weird of a position. What I'm going to do is, for this explanation, I'm going to go ahead and switch maps in a moment for the elevation, but I can still go over the blocking. I'm not sure how well you can tell, but this right here, this is blocking terrain on this map. So, what I'm going to explain is, remember how I said colossals have giant reach 3 and giants have giant reach 2. Let's say you hid right here thinking you were safe because you have this blocking terrain right here. Well, this giant can still see you because we're outside. This is blocking terrain. He ignores it for line of fire purposes and for just combat in general. So, not only could he range you over this because he's like this tall, but since he has giant reach 2, he could literally punch you from here over the blocking. Just reach over it and punch you. Same goes for if you're hiding right here. You're like, okay, I thought I was safe there, so I'm going to hide here. This is a colossal. He has giant reach 3. So 1, 2, 3, you're in his reach. This blocking might as well just be a white piece of paper. Like, to giants, if you're outside, any coloration on the map doesn't matter. They're going to ignore hindering. They're going to ignore elevation. You're going to hide behind blocking. They're going to pretend it's not even there. They're so massively tall that they see over it. Like, it's kind of hard to visualize just with the scales, but you got to think about the fact that colossals are like these, or the war wheel from the cartoon, or Galactus and stuff like that. They're massively tall. Like, we're talking as big as buildings sometimes. So, that kind of explains the blocking terrain part. So I'm going to switch to an elevation map, and that way we can kind of go over that. Okay, so the last new change I want to go about is that elevation I was talking about. You should recognize this map. It's the mountain from Warlight, as it's commonly called. Uh, this is the best one I could think of for elevation because it does have 6 different levels of elevation. Now, with the elevation changes, it's actually a two-way street. So I'm going to put these characters, I guess we'll put them right here. This is elevation 3. And this, he is up here on elevation 5 right now. With giants, or giant size, so giants and colossals, elevation also no longer affects line of fire. So he can see them and they can see him. They can both range and shoot at each other. And I didn't mean to do this, but it just so happens that they are 3 away, so he could actually close combat them if he felt like it. Now, one thing that's really crazy about this is, let's see, this Colossal isn't really the best example because he does only have 6 range, but let's say you tossed a sniper rifle on him just because you can. I'm going to put him, he may get a little off the camera, right here. So, he is now on elevation 3. These guys, I'm trying to keep it on the camera, are going to be right here. You can't see him. So here and here. They're on elevation 4 on the other side. So it goes 3, 4, 5, 6, 5, 4 is where they're at. Until now, obviously you couldn't see them. There's a giant mountain in the way. Giant doesn't care. They can see him peeking over the top like an Attack on Titan monster, and he can see them. If you were to slap a sniper rifle on him right now, or a sniper rifle on them, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, they would be able to shoot at each other from across the mountain. He is so big that he is larger than the mountain and is able to just to shoot up at it, or he can shoot down at them. So there's no more hiding behind elevation outside. There's no more hiding behind blocking outside. There's no hiding. If you're a giant and they see you. So that's going to change some things. If you're playing the giants, obviously you're going to want to play outside so you can do that. If you're not a giant, it might be better for you to play on an indoor map. Kind of try to lock the giants inside the walls and everything. That way they can't get their full benefits. Unless you do just feel so strongly about it that you feel like you could just do pot shots before it can get to you. Because a lot of the giants are close combat. I mean, there are some exceptions. I mean, the Titano monkey, I believe, has 11 movement charge. And so he can, if he starts on squares 1 and 2, because he's a giant, and he charges up 11 half to 6, that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. He's now on square 8. And with giant reach, he can punch square 11 turn 1 with a close combat attack. That's pretty massive. There's ones that have running shot. Can you imagine I think it's the Red Lantern Spectre from Warlight has running shot, and I think he gets pin sight at one point, or it might be the Black Lantern one. But you could running shot and then shoot from so far away, ignoring basically the entire map if you're outside. This Brimstone is actually a pretty cool thing because he has a white box power that he just so happens to get also as a starting power on his 75 point value. It's Pulse Wave that he can just lob to start wherever his range is. So he can choose, like if he's right here, he could go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and say he's going to Pulse Wave from here. So he could be like down here, and they're hiding up here thinking they're safe. He can just, because he sees everything, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, Pulse Wave everything. So it's definitely going to change some things. Now, when it comes to the rock events, obviously nothing larger than a peanut is currently the rule, so we can't use these yet. Once we switch back to the last half of the year where it's just 300 modern, expect to see a lot of these, and these will go up in price quite a bit, I assume. The WizKids official events, I'm almost guaranteed that these are going to show up. This one specifically is really good. He's Apocalypse and Robot. He has a 75-point dial. Superman, Batman, Robot will be pretty big. And you might see some Solaris. I've got some shenanigans going on with Solaris. But that's pretty much it when it comes to the size rules. If you have any other questions, comments, concerns, feel free to put them in the comment link down below. Once again, thank you so much for watching. This was Tricky One. Have a great night.